Hey there, it's Anonymous T, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today. Sending good vibes, any positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So today we're talking Claim to Fame Season 2, and we have a season finale. We have a winner, you guys, so spoiler alert. I'm going to be talking about the show that just ended for those of you who are on the East Coast. So we had a 2-hour finale. We had a break last week because last week was the finale of The Bachelorette. So tonight they did a 2-hour finale of the last 2 episodes. So we were at our final 4 in the first hour, which is Carson and Monet and Chris and Gabriel, you guys. And ahead of the 2-hour finale, you guys, over the weekend, ABC dropped a clip, right, of Monet and Gabriel, pondering on who Chris could be, right, and saying it's the 70s, you're wearing bell-bottoms and platforms and all these things, and you were going to see a teen idol. Who are you going to see, right? And there might be a Vegas residency, or they might be a teen idol in a concert. And immediately Gabriel, the first time he kind of says somebody else, but then they go back and he's like, the Osmonds, Donny Osmond. And I was like, you know what? Gabriel has known all along who Chris is, but strategically it was beneficial for Gabe to keep Chris in the game as long as possible and potentially to the very end because nobody knew who he was. So great gameplay and strategy if that was Gabe's thought process, and his thought process probably was that in the event that they were a final 2, Gabriel could be the one to take out Chris. That was probably what his plan A was ideally, right? Even though he also worked closely with Monet, right? So we get into the episode, right? And kind of the first hour was kind of, but nonetheless, the fact of the matter was they were trying to, after the challenge, figure out who Gabriel was. Once they threw some clues around, Monet picked up on the fact of who Gabe's claim to fame was. However, Carson and Chris were going down this rabbit hole of T-Pain and all of these incorrect people, you guys. All of these incorrect people that did not make sense whatsoever, right? And so then ultimately what ended up happening, something went wrong with the vote because I think Carson trusted Monet and thought that Monet was going to have her back and all of the things, and that, she could be the guesser and guess Gabriel. However, the tables had turned into a tie, in which Gabriel was the tiebreaker, of course, and he decided that he was going to be the guesser in the first hour and decided to guess Carson, who in fact was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s niece, right? And so she's all pissed, right? Because now we head right into the finale after this, right? And of course she only wants to help Chris, right? They bring back all of the dump players, and of course, Jane and Carson, they're like, we're gonna be your little Chris minion, right? We are going to make sure that we help him as much as we can, right? So they're trying to spill the tea and all of the things. Jane tells Chris that she knows who he is, but she's not going to say anything. And then Carson is down another rabbit hole. They're guessing Terry Crews. They're guessing Jay Farrow. And they're trying to apply Terry Crews to Gabriel at first, and then they're trying to apply Terry Crews to Monet, and it is all a hot mess, you guys. It is all a hot mess because nobody knows, right, anything that's happening, right? And then what happens, Shay, who was Monet's bestie, the moment that she's talking with JR and it is mentioned Curb Your Enthusiasm, that is when it clicked for Shane, and she whispers in JR's ear that Monet is claimed to fame as JB Smooth, right? And so JR is like, oh my gosh, she looks just like him, and all of the things. And so Monet, figured out that they knew, and so they're like, don't say anything, blah, blah, blah. But Gabriel was in the distance, staring at them and kind of looking at their mannerisms and looking at their comments, and I was like, something is up. Because why is it that they are making it a point to confirm so hard that Chris is Donny Osmond, his claim to fame, and they're confirming so hard now they're just flat out saying JB Smooth now, all of a sudden, right? And even in the challenge, the final challenge, they got to pick teams on who they wanted to help them. So Gabe chose, actually, I was kind of concerned about who he chose at first because I wasn't sure what his strategy was. But he chose Neil deGrasse's son, he chose Alicia Keys' brother Cole, and he also chose Hugo, which turned out to be, a very good team of his, right? And I believe Monet had JR, Shane, and Tom Hanks' relative, and all of the things. And she's hilarious because she picked up a rock in this needle in a haystack challenge. Basically, this was a challenge where all three finalists, you had to put in order these clues of when everyone was eliminated. However, there was going to be a clue at the end that was also going to have your and your other two finalists, who it was going to be in the final three, right? And their clues. So I got pissed, though, at a couple of things. I got pissed at Carson because Carson was trying to sabotage the challenge, and she was trying to hide clues from people, which I thought was so shady and so messy. Like, you're that threatened? Like, really? And then also, Jane, the moment she sees the Caesar hat and the glasses, she's just like telling anyone who could listen, oh yeah, Monet's claim to fame is JB Smoove, right? And just blurting it out, right? Completely sabotaging Monet and Monet's game. And I was like, you know what? I'm not liking this energy. I am not liking this energy, and I hope this backfires with how hard in the paint they're trying to go to help Chris win, right? And so nonetheless, we see different clues. We see, the character that Eddie Murphy played in Shrek. We see the telescope. We see the key for Alicia Keys. We see, the racetrack flags for Dale Earnhardt Jr. We see the Donnie and Marie famous lunchbox. That kind of had their faces blurred out, but you knew the iconic lunchbox. You knew it was them. We had the Nick Cannon turban. And the thing that hurt Chris the most was he does not know pop culture. And I think to be on this show, to really have a chance to win, which has been consistent with both the season 1 and season 2 winners, you have to know something about pop culture. Right? You have to know something about pop culture or you're going to be screwed, right? You can skate like Chris did till the end, but the problem is, ultimately they'll take you out at some point, right? If they figure out who you are before you figure out who they are. And that was Chris's issue. And so ultimately, he always needed people around to help him figure out who everyone else is, because his strong suit is not pop culture. And the irony in that, considering who his father is, right? Make it make sense. But nonetheless, despite all of the sabotages that were taking place in this game, and it was looking like Chris was going to win, it was looking like at one point in time Monet was going to win this challenge. Guess who wins his 6th challenge? Gabriel. And I was like, I'm like, does he have a shot to win this? Because the winner not only gets to choose who's going to be the guesser in the first round of the final 3, so between Monet and Chris, he gets to decide, Gabe gets to decide who's going to be the guesser in that round, but he also gets to decide who's the guesser in the final round, right? If he wants to be the guesser, he wants to be guessed. And so he's already on to Monet, that Monet knows who his claim to fame is. So under no circumstances does he want Monet to be the guesser against him, right? So he has to strategize, okay, do I have Donnie take out Monet, but does, not Donnie, Chris take out Monet, but does he know who Monet is? Or do I just have Monet take him out, and then I need to figure out who Monet's claim to fame is, right? And so something was weird because Gabe was way too quiet this episode, and because he went from okay, who is Monet's claim to fame, who's Monet's claim to fame, and then it kind of just went away, right? And ultimately, he also knew that Jane was gaming him when he asked for confirmation that Chris was claim to fame was Donnie Osmond. And I was like, something is missing in this footage, right? Something is missing along the footage, right? So ultimately what happens is Gabe decides at the end, even more, conspiring with the finalists, with the old dumb people, trying their hardest to take out, Monet and others and Gabriel with these wild theories, Gabe decides to ultimately have Monet be the guesser of Chris. And that was the right decision, right? So she guesses correctly that his claim to fame is Donny Osmond. We see the video message from, Donny Osmond, and I am like freaking out. I am telling myself, I am like, please tell me there's like a deleted scene. Please tell me there is missing footage to where Gabriel puts the pieces together of who Monet is. Or, I don't know, his brother on the show is also his ride or die. JR just flat out tells him, because he flat out found out via Shane ultimately who Monet's claim to fame is. I was like, please tell me Gabe knows. And I think that was part of his strategy, right? Part of his strategy was playing very dumb and playing like he was an idiot and saying people's names wrong on purpose. I think that was his gameplay on purpose, because he wanted to downplay how much pop culture knowledge he had, number one, and number two, he wanted to play up the athlete for as long as possible because he looked like an athlete. Therefore, people would go down the rabbit hole of football or even possibly basketball before they would ever circle back to who his claim to fame is and get back into comedian and all of the things, right? And so perfect strategy on Gabe's part, right? So ultimately we're waiting, we go to commercial, we're waiting to find out, okay, what is Gabe going to do for this next, guessing challenge, right? This is $100,000 decision, right? Are you going to just let Monet take you out and win the 100K? And I had a feeling that Monet was not going to win, because in the episode when the needle in the haystack challenge was over, Monet was like, I got this in the bag. And anytime people say I have this in the bag, just like Chris Osmond said earlier in the episode that he had the $100,000 and that he had it in his pocket and that his pockets needed to get bigger to fit the 100K in, I was like, that's a misdirect, you're not winning. And then Monet said it too, and I was like, that's a misdirect, you're not winning either. But I was like, there's no way Gabe's winning this. Really? I feel like Gabe's gonna mess this up somehow, right? That's what I kept telling myself. I was like, Gabe's gonna mess this up somehow, right? And ultimately, Gabe chose correctly to be the guesser so that Monet couldn't just guess who his celebrity relative was and basically take the money, right? So he decided he was going to be the guesser. He correctly guessed that Monet's claim to fame was JB Smoove. And then they released the tapes for you guys. They released the tapes in which, Gabe was running around JB Smoove. And I knew he had a feeling all along of who Monet's celebrity relative was. I had a feeling that he knew. And because he so casually said JB Smoove around Jane, and Jane's like, yeah, she really looks like him. So she's willing to talk on Monet and trying to figure out who Gabe is, right? But then tries to play like she's completely clueless on Donny Osmond, considering her celebrity relative is Dolly Parton. Like, come on now. He has his whole face. So nonetheless, we also see another clip of Monet's ride or die, Shane and JR. They are in the kitchen conspiring. And basically what happens is JR, Gabriel's ride or die, tells him, listen, I'm going to give you a clue about Monet's claim to fame, and that is your brother has worked with him. And so then Gabe started putting the pieces together and remembered kind of it came together once the glasses and the Caesar's hat came through, about the betting. And then it came through as well for him with the Curb Your Enthusiasm, because there was not that many black people that appeared on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he started to, get his wheels turning, right? So I was kind of happy he figured it out, and he didn't have to have somebody tell him, like, what was happening with Chris, because I wouldn't have been happy with the Chris win, for the simple fact that basically these people who are pressed that they lost and want to, stick it to the people who are responsible for their elimination by just basically revealing their secrets and just telling them openly who their claim to fame is. Like, I don't like that game, right? You should be able, if you're going to win the 100K, you better know who these people are. and you better have a hand in getting these people eliminated, right? So like I said, Gabe correctly guesses, and I was so happy for him because I felt he was going to be a good winner, because looking back now, because I might rewatch the season if I have time, even though I never have time, he had a really good edit. But I never for a second, he had such a good edit that I thought it was going to be a runner-up edit. It was giving a runner-up edit because I was like, this is too good to be true. There is no way Gabe is winning this season, right? And you know, we were fooled, but I like the gameplay. I like the strategy, because really once Gabe chose Monet to be the guesser for Chris, I had a feeling that at that point he probably knew by that point who Monet was, whose real name is Jerica. And then she of course said that JB Smoove was her father. And then it sounds like in the finalists, it sounds like that their celebrity relatives must record a winning and a losing video, because you're not going to know what ultimately is going to happen. So therefore, I think that's what happened in the case of Gabriel, where he announced that his celebrity relative, they exposed that it was Nick Cannon. Once it was confirmed, of course, he was the winner. And then you hear Jane in the background and Chris. They're like, oh, we were way off on Gabe. And I was like, oh man, had Chris made that final, he would have made an $100,000 guessing mistake, right? If he would have went down the rabbit hole of Terry Crews, that would have been a disaster for him. So, nonetheless, we have our new winner. Nick Cannon is saying in the clip to have Gabriel loan him money. I'm like, come on, sir. Seriously? Stop popping out all these kids all over. And then Gabe reveals that he also was on tour with Mariah Carey and even did like some rapping and stuff. So I'm wondering if he's still cool with Mariah. That is a very interesting tidbit that I didn't even realize or know about. But I'm really happy for him. He, you know, really shined, and I really hope that he gets some cool opportunities out of this. But I hope this show continues for several seasons, because I think it is so cool to, you know, see some of these relatives and see some of their, strategic minds at play and how they want to play this game. And it's really impressive for Monet and Gabriel especially, because the whole house has been conspiring against them for the most part, really since the start, right? They had their allies for as far as that they could take them, but then ultimately they really had to be together as a team. Even though Gabriel shared Monet's clue with Chris, he knew it wasn't going to backfire because Chris didn't know pop culture and Carson didn't know anything about Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? So he knew that that was not going to be a deterrent for him because they didn't know. They don't know pop culture that well. So that was the ace in the hole for Gabriel. And I think he held back a lot more what he knew than what he let on, and allowed people to guess wrong on Chris on purpose to get themselves eliminated, and all of the things. So there is that. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.